What's going on, man? Welcome back to the basement. I'm Ron, and week 5 is now in the books, and the chaos of the season is in full swing. We still have bye weeks, we have injuries, and we have a lot of holes to plug on our team. So today, we are going to talk through my must-add waiver wire targets for week 6 of the fantasy football season. All of these players are under 50% owned in ESPN leagues. As always, if you enjoy, leave a like, subscribe if you're new. And our first player we are going to talk about is Michael Carter. Now, I will say, full transparency, the way these videos work is we talk about my priority ads. These are guys that I would bid, 10% or more of my fab budget on, and then we'll go position by position as guys you can do 5% or just let roll through as $0 waiver wire ads just to kind of sneak onto your bench. Now, I will say, this is a weaker waiver wire week than normal. This is not the week to go absolutely nuts on the waiver wire. A lot of the guys at the top here are already owned. Like, I would be shocked. You must be in a very, I would say, like, casual league if Michael Carter is still out there. Everybody should have ran to grab him once Trey Benson got put on IR last week and it came out that Michael Carter would be the starter. Now, when we talk about Michael Carter, if you are out there and you are in a league where he is available, he is by far the best waiver wire ad this week with Trey Benson out. He had 18.3 fantasy points. This is a tweet from Dwayne McFarland. 59% of the snaps, 67% of the attempts, 49% of the routes, 17% of the targets as a borderline RB2. And from Jared Smola on the bottom, he had 18 carries and 5 targets compared to 5 opportunities for Bam Knight and 3 opportunities for Amari DeMarcado. The DeMarcado fumble makes it so Michael Carter is going to be their lead running back until Trey Benson is back. So you get a free RB2, like free square in your lineup moving forward until that happens. If you're in a rough spot where you need running back production, you can justify as much fab as you need to make sure you secure him. Now, a priority ad here that is maybe sneaky. Algier, I've seen him get dropped in leagues that are a little bit shallower of benches. There was Algier on bye this past week, and if he slipped through the cracks, he needs to be rostered everywhere. He is the clear handcuff to Bijan Robinson. If Bijan was to go down, Algier would be a top 12 option moving forward. And he's also this weird late game hammer for the Falcons where if you wanted to get fancy during bye weeks and the chaos of the season, you can play him in the RB2 spot in games you think the Falcons are going to win. This is a small sample, but the Falcons are 2-2. In those 2 wins, he's 13.1 points per game. In the 2 losses, he's at 1.9 points per game. That's a crazy split. In games where the Falcons win and they have a lead late, they do like to lean on Algier over Bijan. So Algier needs to be rostered everywhere. Someone that might be on waivers, what we talked about last week, give me Kendre Miller. Kendre Miller is out there in about 80% of leagues right now. He had 11 touches to Kamara's 12 touches this past week, and Kendre Miller out-carried Kamara this week, the first time of the season, and his snap shares continue to climb. We're at 13%, then 16%, then 27%, then 32%, then 39%. He has just been on an absolute upward trajectory here. We'll see. Like, there's some Kamara trade rumors. I kind of doubt they make a move. We shall see. But Kamara is kind of trending down, and Kendre Miller is trending up. I will say, my dog is making an absolute ruckus in the corner, setting up her bed. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Winnie, relax. All right. We are back in the zone here. Our fourth must-add waiver wire target is priority ad Darren Waller. Now, he's also probably taken in your league, but if he's not, he is absolutely like a top 12-ish tight end rest of season. I talked about it yesterday, but he's absolutely in this jumble of, all the way from Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, TJ Hawkinson, through Jawan Johnson, Dalton Kincaid, Dallas Goedert. Darren Waller is in that heap of tight end streamers here. The past 2 weeks, he has hit 16-plus PPR points. He goes from 36% of the routes via Fantasy Life's utilization report to 68% of the routes. And as long as that gets to like 75% plus, he is an every week starter, especially with Tyreek Hill out for the season. And then our last priority ad is another one like Algier. If somebody dropped Romeo Doubs because he was on bye, absolutely go pick him up. He had 3 touchdowns in week 4 before the bye week. He was an absolute monster. He is the Green Bay Packers wide receiver 1 in this offense and is absolutely a flex play moving forward. Now, moving on from that, we just have our running back ads here. I wouldn't go crazy on these guys. I think people, especially at the top here, Kamani Vidal, Hassan Haskins, Gus Edwards, of course, Amarian Hampton gets hurt this week, and people are going to be scrambling to get his running back, but his handcuff. The issue is that there's not really a clear handcuff in this backfield, so I really wouldn't go crazy. I will say as well, the idea behind this video is I just kind of give you guys my thoughts on these players in terms of who I am trying to add this week. If you want exactly how much fab I'm bidding on every single one of these players, like if you want to know how much fab I'm bidding on each of the Chargers running backs here, I'm not sure yet, but once I post this video, I'm going to sit down and do my waiver wire article for the Patreon, where I will have to make the painstaking decision of how to rank these guys, how much fab to bid on each one, but you can find that on the Patreon, patreon.com/Ron Stewart. Then you get my rest of season rankings tonight, get my weekly rankings on Thursday, I update those on Sunday, all of that good stuff in the comment section and description down below. Now, we have this tweet from Dwayne McFarland. In the 2 drives that Hampton was hurt for, we had pretty much a 60-40 split in favor of Kamani Vidal, but it was garbage time. They were in a trailing game script, which means Kamani Vidal, to me, is the pass-catching back, and I think that we're going to see probably more rush attempts for Hassan Haskins. They're both really slimy. I wouldn't bid anything crazy. Like, these are guys that I would just take flyers on. And then I also listed Gus Edwards. He's still out there in free agency. It would not shock me if Harbaugh brought him back in after Gus Edwards was pretty solid for the Chargers last year. He knows the scheme, and he could step in right away and be their RB1. So just be cautious. Don't go crazy. Just put a speculative ad if you have space for these guys, but if not, there's no need to really make a play on any of the Chargers running backs. And it seems like Hampton will be back pretty much right after his IR stint is over. Then we have Brian Robinson as well as our second running back ad here. He's just not rostered in enough leagues. McCaffrey is by far, I believe, the league leader in touches right now. We know that he has a heightened injury risk. If he was to go down at any point, Brian Robinson would be a must-add player. Then we can talk about Will Shipley and A.J. Dillon. We got a weird late Saquon injury nugget that he has a knee injury, did not practice on Monday. He plays on Thursday. He might not be available. I will say it's tough because A.J. Dillon in this most recent game had 9 snaps to Shipley's 8 snaps. It seems like the Eagles like both of these running backs. So to me, there's not a clear handcuff that you would start on Thursday. I tend to lean Shipley, though. He was coming off an injury, so I think that they're going to be just slow playing him. I think that he's more of the one-for-one replacement of Saquon in terms of pass-catching skill set and being an all-around back, where Dillon is more of a specialist, like between the tackles, grinder style back. Our fourth ad here, Tyjae Spears, he's back healthy. He's in the mix. He's essentially Tony Pollard's handcuff with maybe some upside to overtake him for that job. Then we have Sean Tucker at number 5. He's Rashad White's handcuff until Bucky Irving is back. He should be rostered everywhere. Isaiah Davis, similar idea. He's Breece Hall's handcuff until Braylon Allen is back, which seems like that's going to be a while. And then also Breece Hall could get traded. I kind of doubt he will, but he could get traded. And then Isaiah Davis would be almost a league winner. Our 7th running back ad here is going to be Kyle Monangai and Roschon Johnson coming off of the bye. DeAndre Swift has been okay, but not great. DeAndre Swift could get hurt, and then one of these guys get elevated, or we could see a situation where, especially with Roschon Johnson sort of back in the mix here, we have the bye week, so a little post-bye rookie bump for Kyle Monangai. It's just, if the Bears do want to play little musical chairs with their running backs, these would be the 2 guys who benefit the most. Then we have Kareem Hunt and Brashard Smith. Kareem Hunt, and by the way, the percentages on this, I guess you could call it a graphic, but it's not really a graphic. The percentages is the percentage of leagues they are owned in on ESPN. So Kareem Hunt is owned in 31.4% of ESPN leagues. And Kareem Hunt last night, of course, he scores a touchdown. He's a good bet where if you're in a pinch and you just need an RB2, Kareem Hunt is always a decent bet just to maybe fall in the end zone once or twice. And then Brashard Smith is a fun stash. He only played like 6 or so snaps last night, but he did get design touches. It's clear they want to get him involved in this offense. It just comes down to how long is it going to take for him to get a real snap share in this offense. Then we can talk about, these guys are like deep stashes. We have Jaden Blue. He made his debut. He wasn't very good, but if Miles Sanders is banged up, Jaden Blue is a fun rookie stash. Then we have Keaton Mitchell. Similar deal. He's back in the mix. He was active have Derrick Henry there, have Justice Hill there, but Keaton Mitchell is a fun back who could carve out a role while the Ravens are kind of struggling on offense here. Then we can get to our wide receivers. Really rough week at wide receiver on the waiver wire. My first number one ad here is Troy Franklin. He's still running about 80% or more of the routes. That's all I can really say in terms of positively speaking. He is a year 2 breakout candidate who is running routes. That's really all you got here. Again, it's just really tough. If you need receiver, this isn't the week for it. Then we have Kendrick Bourne, who is fun, right? He had 10 catches, 142 yards on Thursday night, but Jawan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall are likely back this week. And if not this week, then probably next week. Then we just have some rookie stashes here. You have Luther Burden, post-bye rookie bump candidate. Then you have Alec Iomanor, has sort of cooled off at this point, but still rookie receiver, running routes attached to Cam Ward. Then we have Isaiah Bond. He's running a ton of routes right now, but he's attached to Dylan Gabriel. Really nothing crazy. If you want, we can pull up the rookie receiver report here where you can see Luther Burden's not on here, but you have Alec Iomanor towards the top. 86% of the routes this past week. Decent per-route targets, decent per-route first downs. Really not great efficiency. Similar deal with Bond, where he's now up to 85% plus of the routes. He's commanding targets on 18% of those routes. He's just not really doing anything with them. The one I'm most excited for is Jack Besh. I will say, this one is an absolute Hail Mary. He's there across the bottom. He goes from 21% of the routes to 4%, up to 46%. That coincides with Dante Thornton coming down to 56%. Now, it was a blowout game script. So the Jack Besh usage could not stick, but with Brock Bowers banged up, with Dante Thornton not being great, Jack Besh could get some more run here in this offense, and the early signs have been that his per-out metrics have been great. Over 20% targets per out run, 1.82 yards per out run is great, 15.2% first downs per out run is great, and a 75-plus PFF grade is great. Now, I will say this is, of course, on a very, very small sample, but this is what we're looking for. We're looking for guys to pop, for their route percentage to climb, and then eventually if Jack Besh can get to 80% plus of the routes, and some of this efficiency and some of this target earning can stick, then we're dealing with somebody who could be a late season league winner. This is somebody that I loved as a prospect, round 2 pick. I think was unfairly buried in this depth chart, and then he's a much better player than maybe public perception would think. And then our last wide receiver is just Jalen Coker. Seems like he's going to be back from this injury sooner rather than later, and the Panthers have some really nice matchups here where they are playing against Dallas this week, then the Jets. If he can return for one of those games, then we are really cooking here. Then we get to the tight ends and quarterbacks. First up, my number one ad at tight end is Colston Loveland. Now, here's the caveat. If you don't have somebody you can confidently start, like let's say you don't have a Dallas Goedert or a Dalton Kincaid or a Darren Waller or, a Travis Kelce, some kind of tight end you can put in your tight end spot and feel good about, then don't grab Colston Loveland. But I think he's the perfect, if you have a Dalton Kincaid, then you stash Colston Loveland as just kind of an upside play for later on in the season. But he was targeted, I believe, 3 of his 5 routes in his game before getting hurt. It was clear that he was a part of the game plan. He gets hurt. He misses week 4. Then in week 4, Cole Kmet kind of lets down the Bears and has a pretty brutal game. Then we have a bye in week 5, post-bye rookie bump. Could Colston Loveland be the leader in the clubhouse in terms of routes run at tight end for the Bears? Who knows? But if he is, he could have a very fun second half to the season. Then we can talk about another rookie, Mason Taylor. Much lower ceiling, but he has been pretty good over these past few weeks. According to Datarama here, we have 5th among tight ends in first read target share over the last 3 weeks, 3rd in target share, 5th in targets per out run, 8th in receiving yards per game. He should be a streamable tight end who has run over 80% of the routes in week 5 this past week. It was his first time doing so since week 1 because between then he was losing routes to Jeremy Ruckert, but it seems like he's now earned back that playing time and has played really well over the last few weeks. Then we can talk about Theo Johnson, another deep tight end play where if guys like Goddard and Kincaid aren't available on waivers, you can go to Theo Johnson, who with Jackson Dart over the last 2 weeks has been an absolute monster with 9.2 PPR points and 18.3 PPR points over the last 2 weeks, and he has been a red zone target for Jackson Dart over that time span. Another fun stash is Taysom Hill. He's not 100%. He's coming off a major injury, but he was used in that fun role of having 6 snaps at quarterback and then a tight end snap, a running back snap, a wide receiver snap, which is all really positive that Kellen Moore is using him in that fun role despite being in his first year with a Taysom Hill in this offense. That's a deep stash, though. Then you have A.J. Barner, deep league add here. Yes, he's like a top 12-ish tight end right now. He's scoring points. He's scoring touchdowns, but he's only ran over 60% of the routes in one of his last 3 games. It's just not enough consistent usage week to week to trust him in your lineup. But again, if you're down bad, if it's tight end premium, if it's one of these crazy 16-teamers that I'll see on Twitter or it's from you guys in the comments, then A.J. Barner is absolutely worth picking up. And then our 2 quarterback adds this week, Jackson Dart, who shouldn't be available in your league, but he's at 18-plus points per game in 2 games as a starter. He gets a tough matchup versus the Eagles this week, but I kind of think he's matchup-proof just given what he's been doing on the ground. And then Mac Jones. We've now had 2 games from Mac Jones where he looked really good. I believe one was versus the Jaguars. No, it wasn't versus the Jaguars. One was versus the Saints, where he passed for 279 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then this past week versus the Rams, where he passed for 342 yards and 2 touchdowns. Then we have Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week, which isn't the worst matchup in the world. And Mac Jones has been a streamable quarterback over his last few starts. It seems like Brock Purdy is going to miss this game as well. But that is going to do it for us today. That is my must-add waiver wire targets for Week 6 of the fantasy football season. Again, I'm going to post this video right now, and then I'm going to get in the lab and write out my waiver wire article for the Patreon, patreon.com/Ron Stewart. You can find that in the description and the comment section down below. But if you're already subscribed there, make sure you're subscribed here. Make sure you leave a like if you enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next one.
Stones, like this froze, ice cold, ice around my body like